Open and affirming. We want the world to know that there are Christian churches and communities who are open and affirming, who proclaim God's unconditional love and support for all, where everyone has a place and belongs just as they are, including the marginalized, including the LGBTQIA+ people, and including especially trans youth. Hear now a story from the book of Acts that affirms the place of all people in the church. Oh, who's reader today? That's your cue. You scared me like that, Ruth.
The music got me. Oh, I was sailing the Western Ocean. Today is from the book of Acts, chapter 8, and either 4 and 5, and also 26 and 38. Those who had been scattered moved on, preaching the good news along the way. Philip went down to a city in Samaria and began to preach Christ to them. An angel from the Lord spoke to Philip. At noon, take the road that leads from Jerusalem to Gaza. And so he did. Meanwhile, an Ethiopian man was on his way home from Jerusalem, where he had come to worship. He was a eunuch and an official responsible for the entire treasury of Candace. He was reading the prophet Isaiah when sitting in a carriage. The Spirit told Philip, approach this carriage and stay with it. Running up to the carriage, Philip heard the man reading the prophet Isaiah. He asked, do you really understand what you're reading? The man replied, without someone to guide me, how could I? Then he invited Philip to climb up and sit with him. The eunuch asked Philip, tell me, about whom does the prophet say this? Is he talking about himself or someone else? Starting with that passage, Philip proclaimed the good news about Jesus to him. And they went down the road. They came to some water. The eunuch said, look, water. What would keep me from being baptized? He ordered the carriage halt. Both Philip and the eunuch went down to the water where Philip baptized him.
Thank you. A number of years ago, I was flipping through the channels and trying to find something to watch, and I stopped on a program called America's Got Talent. Has anyone ever seen that program?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I stopped because there was this young dancer on there, and it was a 10-year-old boy, and he was in a sparkly green jacket. I think it was the sparkly green jacket that caught my attention. But anyway, as a part of the show, the judges talk with the contestants ahead of time to get to know them a little better before they perform. But as they were asking this young man some questions, he broke down in tears. And when they asked what was wrong, he explained to them how he had been bullied at school and how the boys at school had made his life a living hell. You see, they made fun of him and taunted him for not being masculine enough. They teased him for being a dancer. Well, the boy wiped away his tears and the music started playing and he began to dance for the judges. And his performance was incredible. And he even got a standing ovation when he finished. And when the applause died down, one of the judges asked him, how do you feel now? And he responded, I feel powerful. I feel powerful. As we gather here today, this too is our purpose. This is why we celebrate Open and Affirming Sunday. We're about empowering people, especially those who are made to feel less than by others. Why? Because we as people of faith follow a Messiah who empowered people, especially people he called the least of these, those who were made to feel less than by the religious establishment, those who were made to feel less than by society in general. Jesus empowered the marginalized. He empowered the oppressed. He empowered women. He empowered children. He empowered the immigrant and the stranger, the foreigner living in a foreign land. Jesus empowered all of these groups of people, and he invited them into ministry with him. In essence, he said to all of them and to all of us still today, you may have been made to feel less than, but I'm here to tell you that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you are made in the very likeness and image of God. And it's this same kind of empowerment that we just heard about in our passage today from the book of Acts. While out on the road doing the ministry to which he was called, Philip encountered an Ethiopian eunuch, who the text tells us was responsible for the entire treasury of Candace. This was an important guy. But he was also a guy who, according to Jewish law, was unclean. You see, being a eunuch and resulting in the inability to produce children was a sin, according to the law of Moses. He would have been considered sexually other, and therefore he should not ever be approached, let alone be baptized and become a part of the faith. But God and Philip had other plans. When Philip encountered this man, he was reading the book of Isaiah, and after a bit of Bible study, they come across a body of water. And the Ethiopian official asked a question that we can all ask. Ask a question that people have been asking across the church for generations. What's to prevent me from being baptized? What's to prevent me from being a part of this congregation? What's to prevent me from being a part of the beloved of God? And this is an important lesson. It's an important lesson for our nation and for the wider church today. Far too often, I think we exclude people from our fellowship based on ancient definition of who's clean and who's unclean, who's acceptable and who's not. But Philip, through his actions, through the implementation of the sacrament, through the performance of his pastoral responsibility, demonstrated to the contemporary church that this person who was sexually other was worthy of God's love. Now, I don't have to tell you that we're living in scary times in our country right now. This year alone, more than 500 anti-gay bills have been introduced across the country, most of them targeting the transgender community. All are based on misinformation and conspiracy theories. Why? Well, they're trying to do exactly what those bullies did to that little boy dancer. Their objective is to intimidate and to belittle, to silence and to shame. Their objective is to disempower the LGBTQIA+ community and say that queer people aren't worthy of God's love. But I'm here to tell you today, nothing could be further from the truth. That's what that little boy dancer exemplified when he said he was empowered. He was empowered because the people were celebrating him for exactly who he was. He was empowered because people cheered him because he was being exactly who God created him to be. And that, in a nutshell, is what open and affirming is all about. Empowering all people. Empowering all of you to be exactly who God created you to be. Now, I'm going to leave you today with one woman's perspective on God and diversity. It's called Reflecting on Rainbows by Tina Dasco de Sanchez. And she writes, I have always loved rainbows. Their awe-inspiring beauty, they're shimmering with the eminence of the divine. When I was 11, my parents let me redecorate my own bedroom. And I painted a rainbow arching across 2 walls. In junior high, my dad lent me a prism, and I experienced refracting sunlight into its gorgeous colors. I learned that white light exists because the entire spectrum of wavelengths is present. Light is my favorite metaphor for the love that is God. Just as white light is completed by the presence of the entire color spectrum, what if the God that is love is completed by the presence of the entire spectrum of the human experience? The entire spectrum of expression of gender and love. May it become so for you and for me. Amen. And the people of God said,
Amen.